So Fossil just released their Gen 5 smartwatch series. As you see, I have one right here. And essentially what they claim to do with this watch is take all the biggest problems of all the other smartwatches out there today, and they fix those problems. That's what they claim. So they really made a bold claim here that this might be one of the best smartwatches on the market today. In this video, I'll dive in and figure out whether or not the battery controls actually work on this, whether or not the other features they implemented with their own software work, and whether or not this is the watch for you. So there's a lot to cover. This really is a very impressive watch for a lot of reasons. And like I said, I'll dive into this video and help you decide whether or not you want to buy this watch. Okay guys, so starting off with a mechanical tour of this watch, I just want to show you guys what it looks like, what it feels like, and essentially a little bit more about the physical aspect of this before getting too far into the software. So right here you have a 44mm body on this watch. So essentially that's pretty standard for a lot of watches out there. Just to give you guys an idea, I have another Fossil watch, an analog one I've been using for a while, and it's essentially the same size. So you can see the thickness right there is not especially different. The watch face is approximately the same size, and it really feels a lot like just a regular analog watch. And speaking of that, they also have the same buttons on the side where you have the top button, the bottom button, and then the crown right there. So looking at the buttons on this watch, you'll notice there's a button on the top and on the bottom. There's also this middle button right here, which is essentially the crown. You can spin this and it does a lot for the watch. And I'll show you a little bit more about the interface later on. But looking at the watch itself, when you go and look at the side right here, so if we can get a close up, you actually have a speaker right there. So that's going to be your output anytime you're doing a call on the watch, or anytime you talk to Google Assistant or anything of that sort. When you need the watch to have any kind of audio, it's coming out of that little speaker right there. I'll test the volume of that later on in the video as well. So looking over on the right side then, next to the buttons, you'll see there is a small hole. I believe that's the microphone. There's another hole up on the top, which I believe to be a second microphone. I'm not positive on that though. Now when we look on the back, you'll see this is your heart rate sensor right there. It's relatively small and it doesn't stick out very much at all. You really don't even notice it when it's on your wrist, that it doesn't leave any kind of depression on your wrist or anything like that. It's very much not intrusive. Now here you'll see the watch band is easily removed by pulling this little tab and taking the watch band off. There are a lot of different watch bands that you can buy for the Fossil watches, and this one is honestly very easy to use. So now looking at the actual interface, starting off on the watch face right here, you'll see that you just have a basic watch face, and there are a lot of other ones you can choose from. So if you tap and hold that, you can go and choose many different ones. And then of course, I have 3 saved on the watch, but they have dozens or even hundreds that you can download or find in the Google WearOS app. So there's a lot you can do with this, and there are plenty of different watch faces to choose from. On this one in particular, you can set different things that you can have, maybe like the battery right there. You can have the date, what moon phase it is, which nobody even cares about anyway, but there's a lot going on right here. So if we go up from the watch face, you'll see this is where your quick settings are, where you can do basically most of what you'll be needing to do in settings. So you have Google Pay right there. You have your watch face you can turn on and off. You can also do that just by palming your watch like you see right there. Then when we go back up, you have Do Not Disturb, we have airplane mode, volume, and essentially the last one is what is very unique to this watch in particular, and that is the battery option. So Fossil came out with several different options for their battery. As you see right there, they have time only mode, they have a custom mode. So essentially what this is saying is that if you are in daily mode, you'll probably have to charge your phone every day. In extended mode, you might want to charge it every 2 to 3 days. If you get onto time only mode, you should easily be lasting about a week. So there really is a lot to choose from here. And after testing this for a few days, I can say that there is absolutely a huge variable with how much or how long your watch lasts. So if you are in daily mode and you have everything on and you're using your watch a lot all day, it may not even last all day. So it really depends on how bright your screen is, how often you're reading your heart rate, how much you're downloading using NFC, and obviously, you can drain the battery fairly quickly if you really push this watch to the limit. Now on the flip side, if you go down just to extended, it already lasts significantly longer. Right now in this custom mode I'm in, which is basically daily mode minus like 1 or 2 features. I think NFC, like I said, is turned off, and I'm easily lasting much more than a day. So right now you saw it's at 30% and it's about 6:45 p.m. right now. So this will without a doubt last the rest of the day with really no problems at all. So let's go back into settings. And you'll see that at the top, settings is where you start to get a lot of different things that you can do with this watch. I'm not going to dive into all of them right now, but you'll see right there, connectivity just shows what this watch is capable of. So you can connect Bluetooth right here. Of course, that will be connecting to your phone. If you're using, obviously you want to connect your phone to your watch. This is a smartwatch, and it's not a 4G watch, and it's not an LTE watch. So for that reason, Bluetooth is very important. But what I was going to say is that you can also connect headphones to this. So if you are going for a run somewhere, or if you are just going anywhere that you don't want your phone, you can easily connect headphones to, or earbuds to this wirelessly by Bluetooth and have music saved on here with the 8 gigabytes of onboard storage. Now, as you go down, you also, of course, have Wi-Fi, you have NFC, and you have GPS right here. So you have untethered GPS in particular. So again, if you are somebody who likes to run or maybe go on a hike and you don't want your phone with you, this is a great way to track your runs and your hikes with something like the Strava app. From the watch face right here, you can actually go over to the right and you'll see this is where you get your basic tiles. So I have Google Fit, I've got my weather, I have my events today, and I have a timer. There really aren't a whole lot to choose from, so it's really not that exciting. I don't use the tiles nearly as much as I use actually just the normal app drawer. So when you go and tap on the side right here on the crown, you press that and it brings up all your apps. And you scroll down, you can see all the different apps you have. Of course, you can get many different apps. I think it's in the thousands that you can get from the Play Store, but they don't all work really as well as I would like. Some of them are a little bit kind of half-baked where they're really not the best apps out there. So when you go over to the left, this is where you can actually get your Google Assistant, and you can do this actually in an easier way. If you just press and hold the crown down, it'll bring, what's the weather in Miami, Florida?
Currently in Miami, it's 87 and mostly sunny. The forecast tonight is 83 and mostly cloudy.
So as you can see right there, it definitely has sufficient volume. I can hear everything it's saying. Google Assistant works just fine on here, and phone calls actually work very impressively well. So let's test that out right now as well.
Hey guys, so this is what it sounds like when I'm talking on my watch. I'm just holding it up, talking pretty normally, and I'll show you in a second what it sounds like when I'm talking on my phone, just to give you guys a reference for how the audio sounds in comparison. Hey guys, so this is what the audio sounds like on my actual phone. So this is on the Galaxy S10 right now. Again, just for reference of what it sounds like.
So just a quick little aside right here, if you are new here and have not yet subscribed, but you're interested in the latest tech videos like this one, please consider going down and clicking the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss the latest updates as they come out. So another thing to mention with this watch is that it is actually swim-proof, meaning that if you're washing your hands or swimming or showering, you don't have to worry about getting this watch wet. Of course, if you have like leather straps, maybe you don't want to get that wet, but as long as you have maybe the rubber ones or the metal ones, it shouldn't be a problem at all. Just to give you guys a couple specs on this, this is compatible with iOS and Android phones, as long as you have Android 4.4 or higher and iOS 9.3 or higher. So what I want to do right now is actually go through some of the apps and talk about some of the key features of this watch based on the apps that I have. So starting with Google Fit, I really like having Google Fit on the watch because what you're able to do with that is essentially track a lot of your activities. There's guided workouts right there, guided breathing, and just a lot of other information you have there. So it's going to be working based on the pedometer, based on the heart rate sensor, and based on the GPS. So a lot of inputs for some very accurate workout tracking. Going down, you have Agenda right there. Actually, you also have Google Play Music. I don't want to skip past that. So whenever you're working out, if you're going for a run and you don't want to bring your phone, I recommend using Google Play Music. It just kind of works the best with this watch when you're trying to download music on the 8 gigabytes of onboard storage. Download the music using Google Play, guys. Then you can use this, and it works very well. There is also Spotify in this watch, so go down to Spotify, and you'll see that Spotify works really well, except most of the time, I haven't figured out how to really download songs easily on the watch. And for that reason, I recommend using Google Play, or at least that's what I've been using lately. Going down, there's a couple Google Fit ones, so Workout, Breathe, and just Regular Fit. They're all essentially going to just help you, they're self-explanatory there. Flashlight's a cool one where your screen brightness goes up to 100% and it just drains your battery as fast as possible, really. The Fossil app is essentially what this top right button is preset to do. And what you have there is you can set different watch faces and really customize it based on where you are. So if you want a professional one for where you're at work and then a fun one for at home, you can easily just change the watch faces like that. So if we go back and say, no, I don't want that one, I'm home right now, I want the home one. So back at the watch face, you'll see that it has whatever I customized it to look like. So really cool thing you can do right there. So going down through some other apps, you also have Maps on here. Of course, there is GPS, which is unconnected to your phone, but you can also use connected GPS with your phone. So just a little more accuracy on finding out where you are on a map. You have media control, so if you are listening to anything on your phone, so watching a YouTube video or listening to any kind of music, you can control it with media controls remotely. You have other things like Noonlight, which is a safety app, so if you fall, basically this is the life alert for your phone. So continuing down, you have other apps like Uber I downloaded, then also Google Translate's a really nice one. So of course, if you just speak into this, it'll translate it on the screen. A little bit helpful if you're in a restaurant or something in another country and you just need to communicate something really quickly, you can use your watch to do that. The top and bottom buttons you can customize. So right now the top button is set to open up the Fossil app like I showed before. And then the bottom button is set to open up Google Fit. Now if you double press the top button, it opens up Google Pay for me right now. So if we just double press it, it'll open up Google Pay, and of course I have to turn on NFC in order to do that. It's really cool. I'll show you right now. Essentially, Google Pay, it works really well if you're in like a vending machine or if anywhere that has Google Pay. You just tap your watch against there very easily. Now the only catch is when you're using that, you need to make sure that you have a password or a pattern or a PIN on your watch so that it is secure. It's something that the watch requires, and so it's just a little bit of a headache if you take your watch off and put it back on every single day and you don't feel like doing this, then maybe you don't want to set up Google Pay. Charging this watch is also very easy. You'll see that the charging pad has two little nodes right there, and they essentially connect onto these two little metal rings on the back. There is a magnet, so it stays on very well. It doesn't matter what orientation it is, so if you set it down and you move it around a little bit, it slides around on your table next to your bed. You don't have to worry about this. It will charge very easily, like I said. So good job on the charger, Fossil. I really do like that. Earlier I mentioned that you could customize the buttons on this, so if we go up to the settings on the top and tap on settings right there, you can actually go down to personalization, and in personalization you are able to customize hardware buttons. So you can change the top and the bottom button essentially to open up any app that you want that your watch has. So now when you get notifications on the watch, it'll vibrate and make a sound, and then when you flip your watch up, you can go down into notifications there. So you'll see notifications, you can tap on the notification, of course, and then you have some options. You can either call or you can reply. So let's just say I want to reply right now. You have three options after that. So you can reply by voice to text right there. You can go over to the keyboard on the right, and you actually do have a full keyboard on here. You can do all the typing with swipe texting or whatever you want to do, or you can actually draw an emoji. So if I want to send myself like a cheeseburger, see if I can draw one. Boom, so I drew my best cheeseburger there. Oh, and it actually guessed, it knows it's a cheeseburger. So yeah, I will send myself a cheeseburger. Within the actual WearOS app, you'll see that there really are not many options on here. You can't really do a whole lot from the app. Most of what you're doing is on the watch itself. But what you can do is go and select from a lot of different watch faces. So you'll see dozens of watch faces over here. You can also download many more on the watch itself if you go into the Play Store. So just looking at these though, you see there are quite a few that really look pretty good. Some of them are more professional, some of them are minimalist, some of them are kind of, bright and gaudy and just look ridiculous, and some of them are really fun. So there's a lot to choose from. There really should be a watch face for just about anybody out there looking for whatever kind of watch face they want to have on their wrist. Here you'll also see the lift to wake works very well, although sometimes it is a little bit slow. Sometimes when I lift my wrist up, I want to see it a little bit quicker than that. So as far as the heart rate tracking goes, I did measure this and compare to what the watch says, and I was accurate within plus or minus about 2 on most of my measurements. So it definitely is a reasonable way to measure your heart rate. Of course, it's not going to replace any medical equipment though. So really quickly, I want to do a quick speaker test just to show you guys how loud this is. What is the weather in Colorado?
Right now in Denver, it's 91 and partly cloudy. Today, it'll be partly cloudy, with a forecasted high of 91 and a low of 64.
So that's basically loud enough in my opinion to understand what the watch is saying in almost every situation. So some of the things I really like about this watch, I really do like the battery controls. I like the loudspeaker and the clear microphone on here. I like the Google Assistant, and I like all the different ways you can connect. So Bluetooth, GPS, NFC, Wi-Fi. That's great to have a lot of different options on here. Like I said before, there is no 4G, LTE, or otherwise having any cell service on here. This is totally connected just through those 4 connections that I mentioned earlier. Some more positives, I do like the Fossil options right there. We have categories, so you can save different watch faces for different settings based on, where you are. So home and work is a good example in my opinion. I think it's also important to mention that the aesthetics of this watch look really good. So Fossil has been in the game of watches for a very long time. As you can see here on the right is an analog watch made by Fossil. On the left is this smartwatch right here, the Gen 5, and they look really similar. I really like the aesthetic of them. They kept everything they do well with the watch, and I really do like the round face on this one a little bit more than some of the rectangle watches that you see out on the market. Lastly, I do like the physical button feel. I am picky about that, and I think I like how clicky these are. So they're not a loud click, but they're definitely a satisfying press that when you press it, you feel that it did register and you know you pressed the button. Having 3 buttons is also really nice on a smartwatch because you never know, it's a tiny screen, and having physical buttons does add to the ease of use for whoever's using this watch. Some of the negatives on this, like I said before, lift to wake is a little bit slower than I would like. So another drawback, if you are left-handed, I'm not left-handed, but I could imagine if you are, using this on your right hand might be a big drawback because reaching over to use that dial is going to cover up the face and you won't be able to see what you're doing. So some more things I would like to see improved on this watch. So I will say, first of all, I wish there were more tiles on here. So swiping over and only having a few tiles and a few to choose from is a little bit of a drawback in my book. I don't want a ton over there, but just having a few other options could be useful. Also, some of the apps on here, like I mentioned before, are really not the best apps out there. So a lot of apps, of course, are made for a phone and then kind of retrofitted for the watch. And sometimes they're not always as good as you think. So the best way I could explain this is kind of imagine how there are apps on like a Kindle Fire, how they look similar to Android apps, but they're slightly different. And sometimes there isn't the same selection that you'd have on your phone. Lastly, I wish there was more you could do on the phone, on the app itself, so you could actually control a little bit more about the watch. But regardless, guys, I think this is an excellent watch. So overall, I have tried a lot of different smartwatches, some that I liked, some that I did not like, and this one is definitely one that I really like. So I like the aesthetic of this watch a lot. I also really like how customizable the battery options are. So the fact that I can make this watch last 1 day or 5 days or maybe even longer is something that I really like for my own use, because sometimes if I'm going on a trip, I'm going camping, I don't want to have my watch on for 1 day and then have just a piece of hardware on my wrist that does nothing for the rest of my trip. Likewise, if I go to work, I like having all the different features on there. I like doing all the other things when I'm exercising, and this watch really has a lot of capability. So that's my opinion on this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you like this watch? Do you not like this watch? Will you buy it? Or what would you like to see improved on this watch before buying something like this? Guys, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.